Another component of the sheep is you have this idealistic view that you have the sheep and you're going to get the wool and you're going to get socks and sweaters knitted and you're going to do all this great stuff. I'll start with wool, is that we go down the road, we get our shearer to come down. Andy, he would come down, he'd spend a couple of days shear all our animals. We would skirt the wool, which means that like pull out all little manure and hay and stuff like that, get it nice and clean, just to get it processed into fiber that's clean and washed and carded. Carded means it's combed, and you could then turn it into strands of wool for knitting and thread. It causes you to take all that stuff and ship it somewhere else because there's no wool mills around. So we ended up having to ship it to the Midwest in Illinois. They do all this process. It's very expensive. They process it, they send it back. Now you got to find knitters or somebody to kind of turn it into thread, into some sort of wool that's going to be made into a product. Then you have to ship it somewhere else to get it done into that. So in the early days, we really wanted to see that through and see how it worked, but we would sell a pair of wool socks and we'd have to sell it for $40, $50. And it's just like, okay, that's special, that's wonderful, it's local, people are buying our wool, but then we're thinking about our footprint of shipping it twice, getting it back, having to put it, so over the years, then, we've done different things with the wool. We've done soap that's kind of with felted wool around it, which was awesome because it's almost like a loofah and then that person that was doing it for us stopped doing it, so then that stopped. And we've struggled over the years to try and find something to do with the wool. There's just not a high demand for it anymore, unfortunately. Hopefully some of the young people in our society start knitting again and start doing things. So what we end up doing with our wool now, so the idealistic was we're gonna have all this great fiber and great material and great products, to now we basically just shear them all off, put them in a bag, and we use them as bedding for the pigs and for keeping warm in the winter time and things along those. We don't throw it out, but we do utilize it. So that's the wool component, the fiber component of sheep, that we thought one thing ends up being something different. Now we still use it, but use it in a different capacity. Our other view was that triple purpose breed, oh my gosh, we should milk them because we love cheese and we love sheep milk cheese the best, and it's naturally homogenized. So I ended up going up to the University of Vermont, taking a cheese making class, thinking we were going down this road. Again, naive, thinking this is all going to be, wonderful and great. We're going to be doing the fiber, we're going to be doing milk, and then we get the meat also. So it seems great. So I took this class. It was a couple weeks long, kind of felt good about that. Came back, and then really we built a building to do cheese in. Center drains, everything. It was its own separate building for cheese making. And then I just started reflecting on it more, which is a lot of times I run and then I stop and then I slow down, and a lot of times it's my wife talking to me the whole time and I don't listen to her, and then at the end we kind of realize that the market for sheep cheese, well, one is I need labor to be able to milk the sheep, right? You need babies, which we had, which wasn't the problem, for the moms to generate milk, but then we had to milk the animals, right? And then we had to keep that milk. Sheep, just so you guys know, would give you around a quart. For a good milker, would give you a quart of milk a day. So then you start going through the process. So while it's wonderful to think about making cheese, when you look at the numbers, we wouldn't be able to charge enough money to make any money making cheese. So, long story short is we kind of got away from that. But the real decision-making thought for me was around, after breeding for a couple years and really seeing how the babies really attached to the moms and that whole social order, and even when they're older and after they're weaned, they still know each other. We've had her lamb would still, even though she was arthritic and was slow, her lamb would still wait for her before they go out. This was years after they were born. So now I got to pull the moms away from the babies and take their milk and give the babies formula of some sort, more labor, more expense. I don't want to ruin that bond between mom and baby. So you know what I'll do? I'll do once a day milking and put the babies back with the mom overnight and then milk during the day, something along those lines. And then I'm like, that's going to give me now half a quart. And then I finally got to the point of saying, we're not going to milk them. We're going to let the babies grow nice and big on their mom's milk, save the labor, save the money on having to buy formula, and give the animals a good life versus having to, milk the moms and put everybody through that. So we kind of abandoned all that, quickly got away from the cheese making. So from there, we really talk about, meat. the protein that comes from the sheep and raising sheep. To us, it was really important that the ruminants only eat grass and not eat grain, whereas in the US, not so much overseas, but in the US, a lot of times these animals are grain fed. The ruminants aren't supposed to eat grain, they're supposed to only eat grass. That's the way the rumen works. And then it kind of ferments, they regurgitate it, they chew cud, just like a cow will sit there and chew cud. And it's just, to me, it was always a very peaceful thing with the sheep, in that they eat grass, they're grazing, they chew cud, grow on their mom's milk, and then they also grow as a result of eating the great pastures that we have. But to us, the quality of the meat to us is most important, and the Icelandic that we started with was very critical to that. And then what we found is when we started, eating lamb, is that we really found it was a fine texture. It wasn't this stigma that's around with people with lamb, as it's this greasy, really gamey, almost beef-like, with a slight flavor of lamb, which is really what we were looking for. But the key also is flavor. If the animals are raised right and they have a good life and a long enough life, that you develop this flavor profile within that meat that is second to none. I've gone out recently to some restaurants, had lamb shank, and it was flavorless. There was really nothing in there, because you think about if it's coming from New Zealand or Australia, that animal is probably done in 90 days, right? And then processed and shipped to the US. And if it's grain fed or not grain fed, or it's just a mom's milk, there's not enough time within that animal's life to really develop flavor. In my mind, this is what my observation is, and my experience has showed me and told me, is that time develops flavor, the animal's life, their happiness, everything else also develops into a great product. So to us, that was most important with these animals, and to kind of keep that fine texture and fine flavor within the lamb, as we've added other breeds that are very similar to that, and then mixed them in with the Icelandic. So most of our flock have some sort of Icelandic in them. The greasy, gamey stuff that was from when like I was young, or even before then time, because I know it's a long time ago, but really came from product that may not have been lamb. It might have been sheep, it might have been older sheep in the US, because there's really no delineation between ovine species of being a lamb versus a sheep or a mutton. But a lot of times older folks were probably, at the time when they were younger, eating mutton, and they're probably eating mutton from dairy breeds or wool breeds. Wool breeds that have a lot of lanolin, that are great for wool, are not so great for meat. That lanolin basically creates a gamier flavor within that animal. And then also the dairy breeds are the same way. They're going to be a very gamey, greasy type of animal. So to us, we just wanted to raise that meat breed, that triple purpose breed that we're only using for one purpose now, and just raise that for good, fine quality, the best lamb that you can ever have.